Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. That result against Galatasaray for me was a big kick in the teeth. We're going to take a look at the team and individual performance of that game. Also, we want to know anything and everything that you want to talk about as well. So get involved in the chat and we will discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. First of all, and it's the big question I'm going to put to you, do you think we will still qualify from this Champions League group?
I've not seen many teams in this position over the years get out of this situation. And unfortunately, I can't see it. I don't think United are capable of changing the tactics. It's just poor at the moment. We need time, and I don't think this will give us time. I think when we play Copenhagen, we have to win to be given a chance, and really, that's the game. That is the game, what we'll say, we're out or we've got a chance. But to say that we're going to qualify in any way, I wouldn't put any money on it.
You've just highlighted tactics. So what's the issue you think there with tactics? Is it not a lot more than that? Is it not individual performances as well as tactics from the manager?
I think from the manager, it's in-game tactics. I look at when United went 2-1 ahead. I was surprised that he continued with bringing Garnacho on. I understand him wanting to bring Garnacho on, but we scored. And the thing is, what we needed was someone in midfield or someone else in the back four. That's what was needed. We concede goals after we score goals. European game, it was clear to me that they were going to come smashing at us, and they did come right at us. They had nothing to lose, and what we needed to do is hold on, get hold of the ball, get hold of that midfield. And time again this year, what you've seen is poor in-game management when needed. And I thought Erik Ten Hag didn't adjust to what was going on.
So you think we should have crowded out the midfield then, maybe have brought a midfield player on to like be a bit more comfortable, a bit more compact in that midfield instead of Galatasaray running through us?
To be honest, I think you could have took a forward off, maybe Rashford off, and then brought even a centre-half on, and then changed the fullbacks. I think Amrabat would quite easily have gone into midfield alongside Casemiro. I thought that would have been good work. Put either bring Dalot over to left back, take Lindelof to right back, or Lindelof left back. The options were there, but what we needed to do was fill that midfield. Time and time again, we've become so open over 90 minutes that a team, when they come at us, they end up running through us. I think what it is, when you've got players playing out of position for over 90 minutes, they can do it for a certain while. Look at Amrabat. I thought he had an excellent first half. But come the second half, I thought the way Galatasaray then came at us, he couldn't cope. I don't think he had the legs in it. He was all over the place, not just in left back. He was all over. And at the end of the day, with a little bit of a mismatch of a team, you get caught out. And we're getting caught out on a regular basis where over 90 minutes, players seem to go wandering and don't stick to the job. If you're not used to that position, week in, week out, okay, you tend to go wandering. I look at Bruno, for instance. Bruno, again, out on the right, went wandering, went missing from the game, and that's what tends to happen when you play players not in the right position.
It's not that Bruno, for me, went missing from the game. He goes looking for the ball outside of the instructions he's being set from the manager. So if he's playing on the right-hand side, you've got to have some discipline in staying on that side of the pitch and letting other players get on with their jobs. You know, so when you do retrieve the ball back, you're in a position there to attack and you're in a good position to create goals. And for me, Bruno sometimes just tries doing too much. And I think it has an actual negative effect on the team as well going forward. You know, the Galatasaray, Crystal Palace at home last weekend, I think he was really, really poor. And there's a lot of people mentioning Marcus Rashford out there. And I think Bruno Fernandes at the moment is going a little bit under the radar for me. I think he needs to give a lot more, Bruno. But again, you've got to look at the manager with his decisions, playing him on that right-hand side. It's happened far too many times for my liking. And every time he plays on that side, as a whole, as a team, do we put in a good performance? Does Bruno give you anything different? I don't think he does.
Look, you talk about discipline with players, especially Bruno playing out on the right. Listen, it's not his regular place. He has no discipline. Amrabat has no discipline at left back. That is the way it is in football. If you're not playing in a position week in, week out, that's your place. You've got the discipline. And if every now and again you moved into a position what you're not comfortable with for 90 minutes, and I'm talking about 90 minutes, any player can adjust for a certain while to help the team out and everything, right? But over 90 minutes, when certain things and the game changes, the discipline goes out the window. Bruno wants to be everywhere. He wants to help the team and that. So he hasn't got the discipline to stay in a position what he's not comfortable with. And he clearly isn't comfortable because he doesn't do it in the big games and over 90 minutes when he's out of position.
I know, but you could look to some of the top teams around Europe. There's certain players, you look at Man City's team, you know, Pep seems to grab 2 or 3 players each season, putting them out of positions, you know, making a centre-half into midfield like John Stones, for instance, and there's plenty more examples. But with Bruno, I just like to know what Ten Hag sees in Bruno by putting him out on that right-hand side. He's just ineffective for me, and I'm not really slating Bruno there because it's just not his natural position. He's always central. That's where he's best at, Bruno. But to keep putting him on that right-hand side, I just don't know what he gives you. For me, I'd rather probably put Marcus Rashford on the right-hand side, stick him out there, Bruno central, and then stick one of the younger lads on the left like Garnacho for me.
Okay, well, you mentioned players able to do it in other teams in Europe. Our players aren't good enough to do it. It's as simple as that. They are not good enough. Bruno's not good enough to go in a position he's not comfortable with. And there's other positions out there. So that's what we're in now. We're in a position where the players aren't good enough over 90 minutes to be moved about to cover for other things. And the left-back position is a problem, and the right position is a problem when Bruno goes out there. How we find out why he keeps putting Bruno out there, unless we had Ten Hag here now telling us, well, I don't think we'll ever find out, because it's baffling, and it's baffling to everyone out there that every time Bruno's there out on the right, things go pear-shaped. I don't understand it, but, you know.
Look, we've got injuries at left-back, and you've just said it's a problem, and yeah, when you're missing Luke Shaw and Reguilon, who we've got on loan, you know, you are scratching around the barrel then to put like square pegs in round holes, and Amrabat's having to play there at the minute. But for me, you look at Diogo Dalot, you know, you look at that performance he gave in the semi-final against Brighton last year in the FA Cup, one more recently against Arsenal up against Saka. I thought he was absolutely outstanding, me, Dalot at left-back on that day, even though we got beat. And for me, that would be the more natural solution, putting Dalot at left-back and maybe Lindelof right-back for the time being, or even Amrabat. You know, let's try and get some, you know, a bit more of a balance to the team, because the team at the moment, it just looks unbalanced to me. Bruno on the right-hand side, got Amrabat who's playing left-back, and it just looks a little bit of a mishmash of players. At least try and get some sort of balance right.
Look, I think when you look at the team last night, okay, there was a balance. There was a balance for a period of time, okay? And you can look at any game and say, we need a balance, we need this, we need that. And what it's down to is the manager, okay? And it's difficult for him to get a balance with all the injuries and all the changes and everything else like that. It is just what it is at the moment, okay? But the players, when they do move into a different position, are not good enough. The only person I've seen who's moved from a position and looks natural in it was Luke Shaw at centre-half. I've not seen anybody else do it, but why Ten Hag is persisting with it, I don't know. But we'll have to move on. We'll have to get better, and he'll have to do some more work, Erik Ten Hag, with these players, and it is all down to tactics. You can't keep blaming these players being put in a position that they're not comfortable with. They will get caught out, and we keep getting caught out. And last night, I looked at the game again this morning, and we were so open. After we went 2-1 up, a few minutes later, we was open, and the players who were not in the comfort zone looked so exposed, it was unreal. So that'll have to be looked at. That'll have to be improved on going forward, because at the end of the day, we've got Copenhagen, and that is the massive game for this club. I did say last night I didn't think we'd qualify. I still don't think we'll qualify, because I think Copenhagen are a good side. I looked at the highlights for them against Bayern Munich. They look good. If they'd have put the chances away, they'd have won that game. I looked at them against Galatasaray. They looked excellent until they got a player sent off in the 73rd minute. They were winning 2-0. So at the end of the day, this is a tough game, right, to qualify to go forward and try and qualify against Copenhagen. So we've got it all to do. Will we get through? I very, very much doubt it.
What did you think the impact of Eriksson coming on last night done? Because for me, obviously, with Hannibal, you know, his starting position in the team is a lot more further forward than what Eriksson is. You always see Eriksson really starting position 5 or 10 yards near where Casemiro always is. So, but it seemed to be a lot. He seemed to give a lot more stability though in that midfield. It looked like there was always an extra body in there when Eriksson come on. But you know, would you have maybe said something to Hannibal at half time as though, like, look, just drop 5 or 10 yards further back, you know, just to be in and around Casemiro to stop them breaking through the middle, Galatasaray?
No, look.
Or do you think it was the correct?
Look, Hannibal went off, okay? Right? Eriksson come on, and Eriksson looked good. Yeah. Okay? Looked really good. But when Galatasaray applied the pressure, the midfield went, the supply went from the midfield. But
you know you're always going to get that with Eriksson. He's not got the legs. He's not naturally, you know.
Then I go back to what I just said before. Mm-hmm. It's clear when the pressure is applied by any team in the Premier League, and we've seen last night, when the pressure is applied, the midfield is too far apart. There's not enough bodies in there. There's not enough legs in there. They want enough legs and bodies in there to get the ball and give it Eriksson once the pressure was on. Yeah. Eriksson was looking good. I thought he was just putting the ball all over the place, but the players in the United side were giving him the ball. They had possession of the ball, but once they'd lost possession, right, and the pressure was applied, over the 90 minutes, United just seemed to leave big gaps. And that, to me, what was happened. Eriksson faded after 5-10 minutes after we scored the second goal, because the pressure was applied and we didn't have control of the ball. The midfield was wide open, and Erik ten Hag didn't fill that gap. But I see it every game, and I don't understand why Erik ten Hag doesn't see it every game. He seems to want to carry on trying to play the winning game all the way through, and he's not adjusting quick enough or good enough, and his game management, that's what's poor, what's being highlighted. But he has got problems on that pitch, putting players out of position. But he has to improve, Erik ten Hag. The pressure is now starting to build. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. It's like he's too persistent with his style of playing, how he wants to play football, where sometimes in games, or a lot of the time, you've got to adjust to how the opposition are playing against you and the pressure they're putting on you. And he's not. He's being a bit too rigid and just sticking to his plan for me. Yeah. And I think sometimes it does need to change, you know, whether that's maybe a formation or certain players coming on, certain players coming off. So, you know, in areas of the team, we're a lot more compact so we can defend properly, because that's a real issue, isn't it? We're conceding too many goals as well.
Yeah, he seems to be entrenched in his train of thought. The Dutch philosophy and all that. We was talking off camera early on, and we was talking about Van Gaal and the way he was entrenched with his tactics, and he wouldn't change no matter what.
Don't deviate from the plan.
Don't deviate from the plan. But Erik ten Hag has this plan of, I want to attack, I want to win every game. But you win games, okay, by defending, right? By holding out in the midfield. Yeah. He doesn't want to be seen having one player up front and everyone else crowding it, or that one player coming back to help and having no say. There is a time to battle and battle and battle. And I thought he'd learned, or was starting to change, against Burnley, where we've seen the battling. All the players were coming back. They were all fighting. Didn't matter if they were left wing, right wing, centre forward, whatever. They were coming back to help out. And I thought he'd learnt something. I thought he'd understood, changed his mentality. But listen, last night showed me that he hadn't changed his mentality, because he just kept bringing strikers on.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, that win at Burnley, it's masking the problems, really. Let's have it right. We made hard work of that game against the Burnley side, who are going to be fighting relegation this season. And, you know, you look at the games as well, not just against Galatasaray. We are also making too many individual errors. You know, you look at Dalot up against Zaha last night. You know, it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger against Danny DeVito with Dalot, and I just don't know what he was trying to do there. And you look at, obviously, Onana. You know, what I'm actually lost for words with Onana at the moment, and
you have to expect mistakes,
of course, but it's how you then respond from them mistakes. And Manchester United, it's like when they go through a setback where they concede or in individual errors, you just know in the back of your mind, this is going to be a constant flow here of more individual errors throughout the game, or they're going to concede possession a lot more than what they've been doing beforehand. It happens time and time again, and certain players, they lose the positioning, they lose the concentration, and they don't start following the instructions the managers give them.
I look at the players, and sometimes, obviously, when we lose, you think to yourself, well, what went wrong here? What went wrong there? And I have said on many occasions, what it seems to be sometimes in the game is that players are waiting for other players to perform. Yeah. And the difference last night with when it was 1-1 going into the second half, and it didn't look as though we had that spark, then the crowd picked up. But what else happened was Rasmus Højlund was performing. He was the inspiration to fight back and get in that game. Okay, you go through periods where it's getting a little bit tough, and that's what was happening, right? Just before we scored. But what was happening, people was looking to Rasmus Højlund on that pitch, and he came and he delivered. He delivered in every way yesterday. He was across the line. He was coming back. He was going forward. He was out muscling. He was fighting him. I've seen at times there, he was fronting him up, and then he was sprinting away from him. And that was the inspiration.
Well, for me, with Rasmus Højlund, that was definitely the one positive to take away from that game, and his composure in front of goal. That's what really, I enjoyed seeing. A player there who could sprint with the ball with the pace and power and finish the way he did do. And it's all good signs going forward. But when you're talking about other players around him, looking at him as though like he's the focal figure, the main man, does that not worry you? When we've got seasoned internationals on that pitch, like your Bruno Fernandes, your Marcus Rashford, etc. Shouldn't they be the ones who are taking the game by the scruff of the neck, assisting players and scoring goals, more importantly?
Look, I've said it. All these players have got a responsibility, and I've said that these players are all looking around during the game, and I don't mean last night, okay, because Rasmus Højlund was the focal point. You go and look at all the other games and that, and it seems that all the players you've mentioned are all looking at someone else for inspiration.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Okay, all right. It didn't happen last night. We've seen what the inspiration was. They all got behind it. They all got behind Rasmus Højlund. Okay, they seen the attack, but it couldn't last for 90 minutes. But what it is, the players are looking for someone else to bring that spark. That's what's happening too often, and it's not good enough. Players go missing, and over 90 minutes, they go missing in the midfield, and then there's no fight, there's no battle. It's all like, oh, what do I do here? And then all the mistakes just get highlighted, and it's carnage. And Erik ten Hag, if I can see it, Erik ten Hag can see it.
Yeah, but you can also see then the mistakes that were made against Galatasaray, for conceding goals. You also look going forward. Marcus Rashford, it was an excellent assist for Højlund's goal. First time pass on the right-hand side, would you believe it? And you look at that opportunity he had as well, one-on-one with the keeper, squaring it to Bruno Fernandes. Just, what can you say about that? The confidence is just shot on the floor, isn't it, with him, surely?
Look, you can see players...
He needs to be picked back up.
I don't know how that's going to happen, right? I don't know how that's going to happen, right? We've just got to wait and see on that one. Look, you can see players make a mistake. All players make a mistake, right? But what we've seen this year is that when a player makes a mistake, it deflates the rest of the team. At some points last night, there was mistakes made, but it didn't deflate the team. It was only after we scored, they piled the pressure on, and then it was carnage, and we never picked ourselves up. And that was because players were out of position. And I think one or two of them had done too much. But some of the big players, and I point them out, Bruno, for instance, captain, out on the right, he never brought the inspiration. I didn't think I looked at him throughout the game, and he's still doing the same things. He's moaning at his own players. He's walking and pointing and just complaining.
Did you see that one with Delo?
Instead, I've seen it with Delo.
Delo was giving it him back as well, and rightly so.
Yeah, and I've seen it with a few other players and that, right? And I don't understand why that's not been cut out of his game. Erik ten Hag needs to deal with that, but he also needs to deal with himself, Erik ten Hag. He needs to adapt, and he has to adapt quickly. And as I said earlier on, the pressure's coming for Erik ten Hag. If he wants to be an elite manager with an elite club, he has to adapt. And I've not seen anything from him what suggests that he will. So he's going to have to sort himself out. Big problems coming along. We've got a tough up until Christmas, till players come back, till the January transfer window, and the players have got to all stick together. The manager's got to stick together, and certainly, most of all, the fans have got to stick together.
Yeah, obviously, Anthony's been unavailable, but he's available for selection again. We've seen a little bit of him last night. But you look at the rest of the injury list, you've got Wan-Bissaka, Martinez and Luke Shaw, who are the biggest names for me out there, who are going to be coming back at a later date.
Yeah.
But then do you think that's then going to fix the problem that we're having? Obviously, we're conceding goals. So you'd expect them three players, the defensive players, to come back in and shore that defence up. But again, still going forward, we're going to be relying too much, in my eyes, on Rasmus Højlund to get the goals without much creativity coming from the midfield or wide areas for him.
If we go back to the start of the season, we all said we're short of players here. You know, we're short of at least another striker, right, before the season started. So the problem's not solved. It's not going to go back to like what we hope. Okay, we needed a top-class centre-half to come in as well. It's not happened. Maybe another player. So it's not going to go back to, I say go back to, it's not going to be the great Man United. We haven't got the side to compete all the way through because injuries was always going to affect us. And the problem is the injuries came straight away. And Erik ten Hag hasn't adapted. Certainly not adapted. Not what I've seen. And that's not me like saying get him out or anything like that. He's not adapted. And it's the way of the world with him. He's come from the Ajax world. That's how he plays football. But he's got to change. The elite managers change and they see it and they're able to change it there and then, right in front of their eyes as it's starting. And then they react. Erik ten Hag doesn't seem to react. We go on. People out there make loads of comments about Erik ten Hag and his substitutions. It always seems to be at the same time. There's no excuse for players, okay? There's no excuse for the manager saying, oh, he run his heart out all game, he was tired, this, that and the other, or fans complaining, oh, he was tired. Listen, we've got a bench there with loads of substitutions. There is no excuse for players being tired. We've got the right system with the amount of substitutes to bring on, okay? Everyone has got to use them proper. He seems to be keeping to a certain time, and that's not right.
And what you're talking about, a system and using from the bench, you go back to the weekend against Crystal Palace, you've got Hannibal sat on the bench.
We know that. Yeah.
He brings Maguire on and Donny van der Beek, and he implied after the game it was to save Hannibal going into the Galatasaray game, but then takes him off at half-time. Now, Hannibal, we've all seen his running stats out there, especially against Burnley. Phenomenal running stats, some of the best since Erik ten Hag's come into the club. That's what we need in our team, legs to get in and around the opposition players.
Yeah.
And he's took off.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that doesn't make sense.
No, there's a
lot.
lot.
Especially when in that second half, you're seeing Galatasaray growing into the game, getting used to the ball in midfield, creating more opportunities. And maybe for me personally, maybe bring Ericsson on, but maybe just keep Hannibal where he was in maybe the centre of midfield.
Listen. You and I are talking here now. People out there are talking. People have been making comments and all that. And when we're looking at these, what we perceive problems or players playing out of position, this, that, and the other, we can't work it out because Erik ten Hag's not doing anything about it. It seems to be week in, week out. It's going on. And there's no solution. I don't see a solution because we haven't got the proper personnel out there at this moment, right, to change it. That's how I see it.
And the thing is, with the injuries that we've already had at the start of the season,
horrendous injuries,
he's not really been able to find any rhythm or consistency in a starting 11. And the starting 11 he actually wants to start, his favoured starting 11. So that's always a problem. It don't matter whether it's at Manchester United or any other team. If you're missing your big players week in, week out, and it's always rotating through injuries, then you're never going to find any consistency. So that is a big problem, what needs to be looked at as well.
But you're always going to lose games when you know that your player power is down because of injuries and certain players not available and all that. Yeah. And you stick to that policy of wanting to attack and win every game. That's the problem I see. It's the management, it's the coaches, and they're not adapting to each individual game. And also throughout the game, they're not adapting and they have to change. It's worked well for a lot of games. But when it unfolds like it did last night, it looks absolutely abysmal. And last night clearly showed me that Erik Ten Hag and the coaching staff didn't adapt to that type of football, knowing the pressure was coming on. Everyone knew the pressure was going to come on when it was 2-1. You don't wait until like 15, 20 minutes later after it's all happened. You deal with it knowing that it's going to come. It's 2-1. We've not put the chances away. We should have been maybe 3-1 ahead, I thought, at some point, right? But the chances didn't go in. And at 2-1, you know the pressure's going to come, and you also have to take into account what's normally been going on in the previous games. And in the previous games, the midfield seems to lose it, gets too wide open, and the back four gets caught out. So that's what happened, and it's down to the manager now. And that, I think that's all it is. Tweaking a few things, okay? Because I think there's good players out there, right? And they should have had better results. But unfortunately, players are playing out of position. When the changes need to be done, they're not the right changes at the wrong time. I think that's what, to me, that's what needs to be changing to get us out of where we are now. I can't see us going on a mad winning run, okay? But he has to change and adapt to the game over 90 minutes and also adapt to certain teams, what he's playing.
One player who's not playing out of position, though, is Onana. Now, he's took a lot of stick last night. Seen a lot of the comments on yours and Webby's match reactions about David De Gea bringing back, etc. But we've got to remember, some of us have got short memories.
Yeah.
When David De Gea first come in at Manchester United, how many times did he used to get bullied at set pieces?
Horrendous.
Physicality just wasn't strong enough. And I think it was an ongoing debate, a topic most games in his early career at Manchester United, the mistakes he used to make. So are we just seeing something similar here with Onana? Do you think he has what it takes to be a good goalkeeper or a great goalkeeper at Manchester United still?
Oh, Jesus.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Have I seen anything from Onana to make me think he's going to be a great? Absolutely not. Does that make him a bad goalkeeper? Absolutely not. Has he made some mistakes? Of course he has. I look at it. I look at his defenders in front of him, his centre halves. Has he got used to it? Did he panic last night? Has he panicked? Has he lost concentration once or twice during the season? Yes, he has. It's not good enough. And if he doesn't improve, there's a player. And we've had goalkeeper after goalkeeper thinking they're going to be all right. Yeah. And then they just end up bottling it. So this player is under more pressure than anybody out there. So he has to get used to this now, and he has to man up and he has to improve. Any more mistakes like he did last night, like he did, well, most of the season, to be honest with you, there is howling mistakes he's done. So he's got to improve. The pressure's on. It's Man United. Some people can handle it, some people can't, and we've seen really good players come to United and not handle it and just make mistake after mistake and never get out of it. When you talk about mistakes and people handling pressure in that, look how big the pressure was on Marcus Rashford. No way in this world would Marcus Rashford, in the past, done what he done last night, even think about passing it. But the pressure,
even look up twice, he wouldn't have even done that.
The pressure was there, that big on him. He crumbled under it, right? So that's what happens when you're at Manchester United. But you have to be man enough and big enough to overcome that pressure. And you should also soak it in because this is Man United.
Of course it is. I'm not taking it away from the mistakes he made, Onana last night, but tactics last night from him picking the ball out, more often than not, he went long up top towards Højlund. It's not something we've really seen too much of this season with Onana in net. Yes, he has gone long on odd occasions throughout a game, but more often than not, he's always gone short. And when he does play that short ball last night, he makes a mistake, and it was the exact same mistake, if I'm right, that David De Gea made when we played Barcelona in the Europa League last season at home. He made the same mistake from the same angle, same situation, but luckily that night we got out of it through the defending. But
I look at that, right? And what it was, they were piling on the pressure. And what ended up was the midfield was too far apart, okay? They were marking, they were closing down, and they ended up just Casemiro in the middle to receive the ball. And there was no other United player, what you would normally think you could lay it off to, right? In in and around him. Yeah. And what it was, Casemiro knew he was on his own and he couldn't lay it off. He had no chance of it and he wasn't expecting it. And we've seen that time and again. And what it was because of Galatasaray's pressure and United not having that extra body in there. That's what caught Casemiro out. Onana, I just think he panicked, really. I did. I think he panicked.
Sorry. Dubsy, cheers for your super chat as well, mate. Will you be apologising to Dwight York? I think he means when we've done a video on Dwight York, when he was discussing Andre Onana, that he'll be watching him very closely. He doesn't think he's better than David De Gea. First of all, I'll ask you, I know what your answer's going to be. Would you be apologising to Dwight York?
Would I apologise to Dwight York?
Because a lot of people on that video felt as though, I think the term used from some people were, we crucified Dwight York, which, you know, if you want to say we crucified him, it was just an opinion. I still think it's way, way too early to judge Andre Onana, whether he's going to be a top goalkeeper or whether he's going to be a bad signing or not. I think it's way too early.
Yeah.
Me personally, anyway.
You only go around apologising when you lose your temper, swearing at people and all that in the heat of the moment. That's it. But when you've got an opinion, you give your opinion. And I give my opinion. And that's what it is. Just like Dwight York, just like yourself, give an opinion. I'm not always right. I always think I'm right. But that's not the case. It's an opinion. So I'm entitled to my opinion, but I will not apologise over giving an opinion. Whereas I don't expect an apology from you out there over your opinion, okay, if it's given the right way, the opinion, and it's not personal. Well, I wasn't personal. No. I don't think it was personal. No. I can't actually remember it, but obviously you're asking me the question. You've remembered it because it's got something in your head, which is fine.
No, it's good to hear that people are actually listening, to be honest with you. That's all. We actually done that video
a few
weeks ago, so I'm glad people are actually listening to what we say out there. Yeah. And for any future reference, if you like to clip up and share our videos to your mates, your aunties, your uncles, please do it. And but looking at David De Gea as well, for me, great servant for Manchester United. I've got memorabilia at home for David De Gea, and I've got no memorabilia for any other player. That's how much I think about David De Gea.
I know that.
I think his time was up at Manchester United. Too many mistakes creeping into his game, especially in the games towards the end of the season. West Ham, Sevilla, the City in the cup final, which was proper deflating for me personally. And I think, it would have been a good option as a number 2 here. But for whatever reason, things couldn't get sorted out with a new contract. I think it went above Ten Hag's head, to be honest with you.
That wasn't...
And the mishandling of it up above at Manchester United.
Yeah, that wasn't Erik Ten Hag's fault. Erik Ten Hag was comfortable having him there.
Yeah, of course.
Okay? He was talking. Everything was smooth between David De Gea and Erik Ten Hag. And Erik Ten Hag did say, I'm comfortable with David De Gea. He wasn't looking to sell him or anything, but somebody, somewhere, in that office, inside Manchester United, has got involved. It wasn't anything to do with Erik Ten Hag selling him. He was comfortable having him. There's a statement there I've read which says Erik Ten Hag is comfortable. He's fine. He has no problem with David De Gea. So it wasn't him pushing him out of the club. It was someone else. And as we all know, inside that club, there is too much interference and not left to the manager. That's how I see it.
I think the games and the mistakes he made towards the end of last season.
Oh, they were diabolical.
And I think that's then what pushed Erik Ten Hag and his team into them looking for another goalkeeper.
That's different.
Either challenge David De Gea or to bring in like Onana as the number 1. But you're looking at.
But he was comfortable having David De Gea there as a number 2. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, right? Of course. But obviously the wages were also a sticking issue. You can't pay a number 2 goalkeeper $375,000 a week.
No.
But you're looking at teams like Arsenal now and Brighton. They're using like near enough 2 goalkeepers, aren't they? They're sort of like rotating now and again. And you look at the game against Galatasaray, and Onana's playing it long more often than not. Well, David De Gea can do that.
Yeah, but
so it would have been a good thing for David De Gea to stay at the club, because if Ten Hag's going to use them tactics going forward against certain teams, just playing it long from the back, well, David De Gea still should be at this football club, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, you've got your opinion on it. That's fine. I'm sure other people out there have got their opinion on it, right? But there's one position.
As like a number 2. I'm not saying it's the main focal point, the number 1.
Well, you mentioned Arsenal and Brighton. Yeah. It's as simple as this, okay? You have a goalkeeper, you have a number 1, and he stays in the goal, okay? David De Gea right? He could have been Man United's number 2. And the reason why he went is because they couldn't sort out the money in the background. That's got nothing to do with Erik ten Hag.
No.
He was happy and comfortable having him there, and he couldn't promise him anything. But he was happy having him there, okay? He went out and got Onana. Onana is the number 1 choice. Well, at the end of the day, Onana at the moment is not doing it.
Yeah, it's just sad how it all ended with David De Gea. And you look at it now, he's not even got a football club. Does that tell you, where he's at in his career as well? And it was probably the right decision from Erik ten Hag to bring a new goalkeeper. And you've got to look at it from outside the box sometimes and take your personal feelings away from if you've got a preferred player, etc. It's all about the team, isn't it?
It's all about the team, and he's not in the team. He's not at the club, and I couldn't care less what David De Gea is doing at this moment in time. David De Gea, like you say, hasn't got a club. Right, he hasn't got a club. Well, he's happy then, isn't he? Just got married this summer. He's not bothered.
Yeah.
He's not bothered.
Yeah.
If he was bothered, he'd be running around going on, putting CVs in all over it. He's not bothered. Well, I'm not bothered about him. Okay. He's not a Man United player now. He doesn't exist.
No, that's a bit harsh. Say no, he doesn't exist.
No, I don't. No, don't cut me as though like people out there, right? Of course he exists. I'm on about Manchester United. Okay, the debate between Onana and David De Gea has finished. He's not at the club. That's what I mean. Yeah. Of course he exists. I know he's a legend. I know how much you like him. Okay, right? And I know how people out there. But at the end of the day, we have to move on. We have to keep moving on, right? David De Gea doesn't want to play football. If he did, he'd have found a club. He's got an agent and all that. He's comfortable. He's financially secure. He's in a different way of life. Now, Onana's here, and the pressure has just intensified and intensified. And that's the way we are with the goalkeepers. It's always been a problem. But what you do need is a regular number 1. You can't chop and change. So I really can't see Onana being changed.
If he's going through poor form, for me, I'd change him straight away. You've got another goalkeeper there in Bayinde. To be honest with you, don't know much about him, but if Erik ten Hag and his staff think he's good enough to bring into Manchester United, at some point, if he carries on Andre Onana making mistakes, it's got to be changed.
If he does change it,
it shouldn't be any different for the goalkeeper than it is for a centre-half, a midfielder or a centre-forward. If they're going through poor form, they should be changed as well. You need to have competition for places.
Yeah, the difference between having a goalkeeper and then you drop him, they never come back. That's how I see it.
But if he's got the mentality then to come back, we're just talking about David De Gea. How many times in his career did he have to go and challenge, come back and knuckle down through all the mistakes that he was making? He had to do that quite a few times, but he always come back a stronger goalkeeper.
Yeah, but
and if Onana can't do that, well, maybe Manchester United isn't the club for him, and it is too big for him, the weight of the badge.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah,
we know he's making horrendous mistakes, so that's the way it is. It's a difficult position, goalkeeper, and it will always cause arguments. Always
might cause one between me and you here. You never know.
Maybe.
Maybe. But looking forward into the attacking area, it seems like every video we've done really, especially after the game as well, we're talking about Marcus Rashford, Garnacho. Do you think he'll do it in the last game before the international break against Brentford? Start Garnacho?
No.
That was very quick. That.
Yep, that's the way it is. The conversation with Marcus Rashford, right? He'll play against Brentford.
Yeah.
Simple as. I thought there was good points about Marcus Rashford last night. Everything about him weren't bad. Obviously, the big issue was the where he should have shot and scored a goal. At the end of the day, I thought he played all right. There was good bits. I mean, you've got to look at it. The cross, what he did for the first goal, it's fantastic cross. Okay, his movement at times was okay. Was he excellent? No, he wasn't. I thought he was just good in the game. I don't think he produced that much, but I thought he was good. So I'm not really having a go at him. Don't want to have a go at him. At the end of the day, you have to highlight the bad moves in any player, which I have done.
But the one thing when the players lost confidence or in front of goal like Rashford, you normally see him hiding, not really showing for the ball, hiding more behind the opposition. And at the moment, I'm not actually seeing that from Rashford. When he done that, well, when he should have shot instead of tried squaring it to Bruno, if you look at the 5 or 10 minutes after that, he was actually going all over the pitch looking for the ball. He wanted the ball. He was asking for it. So that's something in terms of like confidence, mentality. you know, that should be a positive, really, that he wants to still improve. He's not hiding, because if you've got players hiding on the pitch, you're in big trouble.
Right. Well, that's why I believe he'll be in against Brentford.
Okay.
We've got the international break after it, so really, we're at home. He should be in the team, and he won't hide. Whether he's good enough, carry it going forward, time will tell.
Anything to add before we go?
No. I'm just waiting for the Brentford game. I can't wait for it, to be honest with you.
You looking forward to it?
Absolutely looking forward to it.
Let me know if you're looking forward to it out there as well.
Because what it is, I want to see what Erik Ten Hag does. I want to see what he does with his substitutions. I want to see what he does with his game management within the 90 minutes. I want to see if he's now gonna... It's all about change here now. It's all about pressure. And when the pressure's there, really, I want to see the players thrive under the pressure. And I also want to see if there's any players what are going to crumble under the pressure. We've seen Onana crumble under the pressure. Are we seeing Rashford crumble under the pressure? Will it affect him? Will he bounce back? Will Onana bounce back against Brentford? That's what you want to see. You want to be positive about your players, your team going forward. The pressure's really on now, right? And I think there's good players there. We're just short of a few players, which won't get sorted for quite a while. So the pressure's on. I want to see these players thrive under the pressure.
Yeah.
I want to see a man on that pitch.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what I want to see. And I think now everything's coming on and off the pitch. It's all happening. It's carnage. I've told you before. I love the carnage in that. But what it is, it brings out the man in people. And that's what you want to see.
That's where he should be accounted for, and it stand up.
And when you see the men on the pitch, what you see is men fighting for 90 minutes. We've not seen that. I've seen that all my life in football, but I've not seen it for a while. Listen, you can get beat anytime. If the 11 men on the pitch fight for you, do the running, and fight for each other, right? At the end of the game, you clap them off because they've given the best. And this is what I want to see now.
Yeah. Good speech there towards the end there. I like that. To wrap up the video. Just like to thank everyone for getting involved today on the channel. As ever, much appreciated. If you've enjoyed it, please smash a like on the video. It's Thursday tomorrow, so I think we might end up doing the Man United versus Brentford preview, also mixed in with a bit of the Manchester United news. So if you're available, come and join us there, get that notification on. And a big thanks to everyone for joining us again. It's much appreciated. Much love, everyone. Thank you.